Hi, my name is Taylor, and today I'm going to share a book with you titled When Dad's at Sea, author Mindy Pelton, illustrator Robert Steele. I chose this book today because growing up, my parents were both active duty Air Force, and I know a lot of my friends had active duty parents growing up. In schools today, there are so many children with parents that are in the military, and not a lot of people understand quite what it's like to live in a family where one or both parents serve in the military. It's a very different lifestyle, contrary to what a lot of people believe, and I think this book sheds some light on what goes on at home while a parent is away. I think this book would be eligible to read to any kids K through 6 because military families aren't just in kindergarten or aren't just in 6th grade. So I think this would be appropriate for K through 6. The dedication says, to Catherine and Meredith and all of the families and children of families in the United States Armed Forces. So let's begin. Most days, Dad lives with Mom and me in our blue house with an American flag on our porch. Other days, he lives with pilots like himself and sailors on a U.S. Navy ship carrying rows of airplanes. I miss Dad when he sails to the other side of the world. So, for families in the Navy, what kind of transportation would you probably say that they use? If you can look at this picture. Use a boat. Some of the branches use planes, others go on foot, but the Navy, yes, would use big ships, just like this one, that carry hundreds and thousands of men. All summer long, I knew Dad would have to leave again when school started in the fall. When the time came, he reminded me, the ship pulls out in 3 days to go on a cruise. I felt sad and mad and scared all at once, like a big ball of yarn had gotten tangled inside of my stomach. I knew he would be gone for a very long time. When are you coming home? I asked. Dad said, I'll be home in 6 months. How many days is that? I said with a groan. He thought for a moment, then his eyes brightened. I know. I'll show you. Mom, Dad, and I cut strips of colored paper and shaped one circle for each day. Dad would be gone. Then we linked them all together, forming a long chain. Dad drew hearts on the middle circle to show me the halfway point of his cruise. When we were done, we hung the chain like a streamer on the living room walls. Dad said, take off one circle every night, Emily. I'll come back when the chain is finally gone. When I was 7, my dad left for a deployment to Iraq, and we didn't make a chain quite like in this book, but my mom made individual calendars for each of the months that he'd be gone, and she would give me stickers to stick on each day until he came home. So it's a very common thing for parents to do for their children while they're away. The next 3 days were sad days. I missed Dad before he even left. I sat in Mom's chair at mealtimes to be close to him. I watched him pack his clothes into a big metal box with enough toothpaste and shampoo to last forever. Dad winked at me as he folded the pillowcase I painted for Father's Day and stacked it on top of his t-shirts. I didn't want to fall asleep the night before Dad had to go. Maybe he wouldn't leave if there were no more circles left on the chain. I tiptoed through the darkness into the living room and pulled it off the walls. It fell with a loud swoosh. Then I heard the flap, flap, flap of Mom's slippers coming toward me from the hallway. Quickly, I dragged the chain to my room and hid it under my bed. The next morning, Dad wore his green flight suit to breakfast. The chain was hidden under my bed, but nothing had changed. He was still leaving. I ran to my room and tore the circles into tiny pieces. When Dad came in, I turned away. Emily, he said, I know you don't understand why I have to go. I don't want to be away from our family, but I have to work in a different place for a while. My job helps keep people safe. Don't leave me, I cried. Putting his arms around me, Dad said, when I travel, Mom takes good care of you at home, but I take care with me in my heart. Take me in your sea bag, I begged. Dad smiled. I wish I could. When I feel sad because I'm away from the two most special people in the world, I see pictures in my mind. I think of you and Mom waiting for me in our blue house, and then I feel better. Whenever you miss me, you can see pictures too. Just close your eyes and think of me. I'll always be with you. Dad dried my tears and led me to the living room. A new chain was hanging on the wall. Mom and I made you the new one last night, he said. The new chain was even better than the first. There were pictures and words on every circle. The circle in the middle had colored hearts and candy taped to it. I'd better go now, Dad said with a goodbye kiss. I'll email you when I get to the ship. Then he hugged Mom and me and walked to the car. Driving away, he honked and waved, just like he always does when he goes on a trip. And on some deployments, they don't have computers. My dad did not have a computer when he left, but he wrote me extremely long postcards. I missed Dad all day at school. I wished he had a different job so he could stay home with me. That night, Mom said she had a special surprise for story time. She turned on a video. Dad was on TV. He read my favorite books to me and pretended to talk to my stuffed animals. I laughed when he kissed them goodnight, like I do. When the video ended, I wanted to watch it again. Mom said I could take the first circle off the chain once I changed into my pajamas. The circle had a happy face on it and the words, I love you, Emily. I curled the paper strip around my fingers until I found a safe place for it. I peeked in the mirror at Dad's picture that Mom had ironed onto the front of my t-shirt. He smiled at me, and I smiled back. But I cried after Mom tucked me in because Dad wasn't there to kiss me goodnight. He wouldn't be back until all the circles came down, one at a time. So why do you guys think the Dad and Mom created videos for Emily to watch? Do you think it could probably be so she could remember him, especially at such a young age? If they're not around, they might not remember what they look like, so the parents probably made that just to keep his memory fresh in her head so she wouldn't miss him too much. It's a really good idea. I wondered what Dad was doing. I wanted to see pictures in my mind like he does, so I thought about the day our family visited the ship. I imagined Dad flying off the top deck and over the ocean. I saw him catch the wire with the tail hook of his plane as he came in for a landing. When I was too tired to see any more pictures, I hugged my t-shirt and I fell asleep. Mom checked the computer every day to see if we had an email from Dad. Most days we did. I liked getting photos. My favorite was the day that he sent us one of him standing by his bunk bed holding a picture he drew for me. It was a stick man with his arms wide open saying, I love you this much. On Halloween, Dad surprised us by calling from the ship. He told Mom and me about the 3 special food days for all of the sailors. Meatball Mondays, Taco Tuesdays, and Fish Fridays. It sounded like fun, so Mom said, we can be copycats and eat the same food that Dad eats. When it was my turn to talk, I told Dad about the new girl I met on our block. She had come over and said, Hi, I'm Sam. My family just moved into the house on the corner. My dad is a sailor, so he's on a cruise with the Marines. Suddenly, I didn't feel so alone. The ball of yarn in my stomach was gone. I'm Emily, I said. My dad is on a cruise, too. Sam looked surprised. Once our moms met, we learned that our dads were on the same ship. Sam and I were excited. Wow, she said, our dads can be friends, too. She knew all about the sailors' special food days, but she had never heard of the paper chain. She liked mine, so we made one for her house. Sam proudly showed me the big jar of chocolate candy she uses to count the days until her father comes home. When we reached the halfway circle on our chains, Our moms had a little party for us. Sam and I ate our candy and wore our circles like bracelets. We drew curvy lines with our fingers on Dad's giant world map, tracing where our father's ships had traveled. A lot of the times, military families will live on base, so they're pretty much surrounded by other families that are in the same branch as them, so that makes it very easy to make friends. When my parents lived on base, I had a friend who was her dad was my dad's sergeant, and so we hung out all the time, kind of like Sam and Emily. After Dad had been gone a long, long time, the chain had become very short. He would be coming home soon. When there were only 10 circles left, Mom and I met with other families to paint welcome home signs to hang at the Navy base. Mom said, "We'll have a big party at the base when Dad and the other pilots and sailors fly home." Finally, there was only one circle left hanging on the wall. Dad would be home tomorrow! I saw pictures in my mind of him coming home to Mom and me. The next morning, Mom and I hung American flags and a welcome home sign on the house to surprise Dad. Then we got dressed up and drove to the base. Sam and her mom were already there. Everyone looked up at the sky, waiting to see the airplanes. When they came, I jumped up and down and waved. The planes flew close together like a capital V above our heads. I covered my ears, but I could still hear the jet engines roaring. It's a very popular thing on bases. They'll have fighter planes flying above, usually on holidays or on special occasions, such as returns. After the airplanes parked, the flight crews took off their helmets and climbed down the wing ladders. Mom pointed and yelled, "There he is, Emily!" We ran towards Dad. He picked me up high in the air and then gave Mom and me a big hug. "Dad, the chain is gone!" I shouted. "That's right," he said with a big smile. "The chain is gone and your dad is home." The end. I really enjoyed this book, and I hope that all of you did as well. I think it does a very good job of portraying what the families go through in military life. I love also the illustrations because they look hand-painted, definitely, and I think they're very intricate, and they make the pictures more realistic in my head. Again, I think this is a good read for any grades because children all over are in military families and go through struggles just like this family in this book. And so I think it would help kids to relate a lot if we shared this book more in the classrooms and also talked about military lives in their families. Thank you for listening.